All right, so today we're diving into some of the most intense leadership principles you'll ever hear. They were literally forged in combat by former U.S. Navy SEAL commanders Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And look, these are not your typical fluffy corporate buzzwords, okay? We're talking about life and death lessons on how to lead and win. We're going to break down exactly how these ideas can totally transform the way you see leadership, whether it's in business, sports, or just your own life. Okay, so let me ask you this. Think about the last time a project you were on went south, or your team just missed a big target. Who was to blame? I mean, it's easy to point fingers, right? The economy was bad. The client was impossible. Maybe someone on the team dropped the ball. It's human nature to look for someone or something else to blame. But what if I told you that these two SEAL commanders would say all of those excuses are, well, completely irrelevant? In some of the most high-stakes environments imaginable, they found one single, incredibly powerful answer to that question of blame. And believe me, it is an absolute game changer. So where do we even begin with this stuff? Well, it doesn't start with complicated tactics or strategies. Nope. It all starts with a fundamental shift in your mindset. It's all about how you, as a leader, see the world and, more importantly, your role in it. And this is it. This is the core idea, extreme ownership. And look, this isn't just about taking responsibility for your specific job description. No, it's about taking ownership of everything, and I mean everything, that affects your mission. The leader is responsible for the failures, the mistakes, the supply chain issues, the weather, you name it. It's all on you. I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? There's just no wiggle room there. Whether the team succeeds or fails, it all comes down to the leader. You know that old saying, the buck stops here? Well, with extreme ownership, the buck doesn't just stop with you, it starts with you. And this idea, man, it just flips everything we think we know about teams right on its head. The core belief here is that there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. So if your team is struggling, the first place you look isn't at them. You look in the mirror. Because leadership, they argue, is the single biggest factor in whether a team wins or loses. Period. And you can see the difference this makes clear as day, right? On one side, you have the blaming leader. They create this toxic culture of excuses and negativity. But the ownership leader, they set a totally different tone. By owning everything, they automatically drive higher standards. And that attitude of accountability, it becomes infectious. It spreads through the whole team. Wow, this line is so, so powerful. Let that sink in for a second. It's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. You can give speeches about excellence all you want, but the second you walk past a problem or accept a shoddy piece of work, guess what? You've just set the new standard, and it's lower. Okay, so there are two other essentials to this whole mindset. First, you have to truly, genuinely believe in the mission. I mean, if you, the leader, are not a true believer, how can you expect anyone else to be? And second, you've got to check your ego. You just have to, because the mission is always, always more important than your ego or who gets the credit. Okay, so once you have that ownership mindset locked in, how do you actually put it into practice? How does it translate into action? Well, that brings us to what they call the laws of combat, which are basically real-world tactics for winning.
So here they are, the 4 laws of combat, and you'll see how these apply to pretty much any situation. First, cover and move. That's all about teamwork, making sure every part of the team is supporting the other. Second, simple. Keep your plans clear and concise because complexity is the enemy. Third, prioritize and execute. In the middle of chaos, you have to figure out the single biggest problem and tackle that first. And fourth, decentralized command. This is huge. It's about empowering your team members to make decisions and lead.
Let's just double-click on that simple one for a second. If your team doesn't get the plan, that is not their fault. It's yours. It's on you, the leader, to make it simpler. The goal is for everyone, and I mean everyone, to understand not just what to do, but why it's important. And what about when everything is going wrong at once? You know that feeling of complete chaos? That's where prioritize and execute comes in, with this simple little mantra. First, just relax. Take a breath. Second, look around and figure out what's actually happening. And third, make a call. Pick the one thing that will make the biggest impact and do that first. This really gets to the heart of decentralized command. The goal is to get your team to a place where they're not coming to you asking, "What should I do?" Instead, because they understand the mission so well, they come to you and say, "Hey, here's the problem, and this is what I'm going to do about it." That's a huge shift from being micromanaged to being truly empowered. All right, so winning a single battle is great, but how do you win the war? How do you create a team that wins consistently over and over again? Well, that's the final piece of this puzzle. It's all about discipline and building the habits that lead to long-term victory. So to keep that momentum going, you need a few key things in place. First, you've got to plan, and I mean really plan, getting input from everybody on the team. Second, you have to lead not just down, but also up the chain of command. That means keeping your own boss informed so they can make good decisions. And finally, you have to be decisive. You're never going to have perfect information, but you still have to make the call. And this all leads to one of their most famous ideas, which sounds like a total contradiction at first. Discipline equals freedom. I know, it sounds weird, right? But think about it. The more discipline you have in your daily habits, in your planning, in your work, the more freedom you actually create. Freedom to maneuver, to react, and to seize opportunities when they pop up. And where does that discipline start? It starts with the very first test of the day. The alarm clock goes off. What do? Do you hit snooze or do you get up? That simple, tiny choice sets the tone for your entire day. If you can win that first little battle, you're building the discipline you'll need for the much bigger ones. But here's the thing. It's not just about being a hardcore, disciplined machine all the time. The truly great leaders understand there's a nuance to it all. It's not a simple checklist. Leadership is really a balancing act, a constant push and pull between two opposing ideas. And that's what they call the dichotomy of leadership. The idea is that for any quality a leader needs, you can't be too far on one extreme. The sweet spot, the place where you're most effective, is right there in the middle, finding that perfect balance. And this table here lays it out perfectly. A leader needs to be confident, right? But not cocky. You need to be courageous, but not foolhardy. Humble, but not passive. You see the pattern? It's this constant fine line you have to walk. You have to be a leader, but you also have to know when to be a follower. It's a delicate dance, for sure. So when you boil it all down, what's the ultimate lesson here? It's that the best leaders just don't make excuses. Period. It's not about everything going perfectly. It's about taking ownership of the problems and then finding a way, any way, to win. And that brings us right back to where we started. This single idea is the heart and soul of this entire philosophy. The leader must own everything in his or her world. There is no one else to blame. If you can truly let that sink in and live by it, it will change everything. So, I want to leave you with a direct challenge, not about something you'll do tomorrow, but something you can do right now. What is one problem, one failure, one thing that's not going right, it could be big or small, that you are going to stop making excuses for and take extreme ownership of starting today?